2017 proved dramatic in the World Endurance Championship, and this is the story of an action-packed season. As the teams arrived in the UK, there was finally a chance to check out the lineups. In LMP1, Porsche number 2 had a new addition, 2015 Le Mans winner Earl Bamber. And in the number 1 car, reigning champion Neil Jarni was joined by Nick Tandy and 3-time Le Mans winner Andre Lotterer. At Toyota, the number 7 car also had a new face for 2017, that of 3-time World Touring Car champion Jose Maria Lopez. The unchanged lineup in Toyota number 8 was hungry for victory.
It's not like in the days when we came with a 6 megajoule and then Porsche ran an 8. You know, we're fighting the same battle with the same tools, I feel, this year. And yeah, it's going to be fun because it'll be down to which team gets it right and which drivers get it right.
The driver list in LMP2 read like a who's who of modern-day single-seater racing. Reigning champion Nico Lapierre, Ollie Jarvis, Jean-Eric Verne and Alex Lynn among the stars, as this class attracts more and more world-class talent. Rebellion moved to LMP2, and Senna, Prost and Piquet are just some of their drivers. The class is more powerful than ever. In GTE Pro, Porsche returned with an all-new 911 RSR, with Michael Christensen and Kevin Estre at the wheel of the 92 car, while in 91, Richard Leitz partnered Fred Makovici. Ford returned for their second year in the World Endurance Championship. They'd finished 2016 strongly and were looking to carry on that way in 2017. However, the 95 Aston Martin crew weren't about to give up their title without a fight. And the AF Corse Ferraris could certainly not be ruled out. There was a strong lineup in GTE AM, guaranteeing a season-long battle. In qualifying at Silverstone, Toyota had shown they meant business by locking out the front row. Away from the lights, the story was the same, as the Porsches struggled to keep up. In 2017, the GTE class was granted its own FIA World title, and it was easy to see why. The racing was close and intense. The new Porsches hadn't qualified well, but their early race pace was impressive and they started to move forward. Fred Makovici soon challenging the Fords at the front. They were busy fighting each other. Stefan Mucker took the lead, as Andy Prio seemed to be struggling with his car. And the reason soon became clear. The door had somehow come open and the pole sitter was dropping back. As the race developed, it looked like the British weather might begin to play its part, and just as the Porsche number 2 pitted, it had started to rain. They quickly switched to intermediates, trying to gain an advantage over the Toyotas that had already stopped. After a promising debut for the new 911 RSR, it all suddenly went wrong for Kevin Estre when his Porsche caught fire. He was out of the race. Things went very wrong for debutant Jose Maria Lopez. A huge crash wrecked the number 7 Toyota as he went off on the damp track. There was a full course yellow as rescue crews attended to the driver.
Yeah, Jose, you need to try to come back. You need to try to come back to the pits. Please try, please try.
Amazingly, Lopez did get the car out of the gravel, driving what was left of it back to the pits. But there was now just one Toyota in the fight.
We'll be racing Toyota out of the box when we come out from our pit stop. We can try and get a gap on them ahead.
With just over half an hour to go, Porsche and Toyota's strategies were coming together. When Brendan Hartley pitted, the team gambled on not taking tyres to try and keep him ahead of the Toyota. And it worked. The Porsche kept the lead. Sebastian Buemi had fresher tyres and a much quicker car. He reeled the Porsche in before forcing his way through to grab the lead. Brendan Hartley had nothing left to give, and Sebastian Buemi headed to victory in the RAC Tourist Trophy to the delight of the team.
Well done, P1. Go to Alpha 1, Alpha 1.
I'm really happy. I mean, it's an amazing feeling, you know, when you win like that. After the pit stop, I knew it would be close, but I did not expect us to be 8 seconds behind the Porsche, so I had to push really hard, and then we tried to drain the battery. You know, I was recovering less energy just to try to be a bit quicker, and then the rain came, so it all helped us. But yeah, really happy with that.
Victory in LMP2 went to the new Jackie Chan DC Racing team. Despite their early issues with the door coming open, somehow the number 67 Ford came back to claim victory. The Clearwater Racing Ferrari seized GTE and victory on the final lap. As the series headed across the channel and into Belgium for round 2, there was a huge crowd ready and eager for the action. Porsche's Andre Lotter was on pole ahead of the Toyotas. At the start, Nico Lapierre locked up and overshot the hairpin at La Source, dropping him back. Lotter was soon under attack, and Mike Conway's Toyota swept by to take the lead. Then Sebastian Buemi took advantage of some GT traffic and pounced to grab second. At the head of GTE Pro, Olivier Plat in the Ford had caught Alessandro Pierguidi. The pair running door handle to door handle through Eau Rouge as the Ferrari tried to defend its lead. But Plat was under attack from the other Ferrari of Sam Bird. He slipstreamed up the straight to grab second from the Ford, and as the race-leading Toyota squeezed through, Bird saw an opportunity to grab the class lead from his teammate. The two AF Corsa Ferraris leaned on each other. Pierguidi was eased out wide and dropped to third as Bird went through, followed by the opportunistic Ford of Olivier Plat.
Okay, we've got a slow rear left puncture, We're coming in the slack box, bottom box now.
Things were not going according to plan for Porsche number 2. About a quarter of the way through their second stint, Earl Bamber was forced to make an unscheduled stop for a new tyre, setting back the team's plans. As the race-leading Toyota also pitted, an epic fight was raging for supremacy in LMP2. Leader Alex Lynn in the G-Drive car was held up by a GT Class Ford. Alex Brundle in the 37 Jackie Chan DC Racing car saw his opportunity, ignoring the faster Porsche. Brundle kept his momentum up and grabbed the class lead. Sometimes in endurance racing you need lightning reactions. As cars from 3 different classes converged on the bus stop, there was contact. The Porsche spun ahead of Kamui Kobayashi, who had a split second to avoid drama. Porsche's Brendan Hartley was not so fortunate at the same spot, smoking into the back of Romain Dumas' LMP2 Alpine. The Porsche was forced to pit to replace the front end of the car. At the end of 6 hours of frantic action, Sebastian Buemi headed to the line to lead a Toyota 1-2 and claim his second straight win of the year.
Okay, well done, Seb, well done. P1, good job, good job.
I mean, it's amazing, you know, but, you know, they lost close to a minute under the full course yellow, so they were just quicker than us. But I'm really happy that, you know, the luck has turned since last year, and to start with 2 wins, it's quite amazing.
In LMP2, G-Drive had started on pole and claimed victory. And in GTE Pro, the pole sitters also took victory, but boy did they have to work for it. In GTE Am, it was a win for the 98 Aston Martin. Round 3 of the World Endurance Championship is by far the biggest race of the year, the legendary 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Well, we'd love to capture this energy. We've got a great crowds at our events, but we'd love to sort of replicate the energy and excitement that's in an event like this.
The flag used to start the race arrived in style, delivered to the grid by the French army. Chase Carey waved the field away in traditional style.
We have started the 85th running of the 24 hours of Le Mans. We have started the 85th running of the 24 hours of Le Mans.
It was a Toyota lockout at the front, with Kamui Kobayashi smashing the lap record in qualifying. But could they control the race? In the early stages, they were just fighting each other, as Sebastian Buemi swept by Mike Conway for the lead. Porsche number 2 was the first of the big boys to hit trouble, something causing the car to lock up under acceleration. The team was forced to replace the front hybrid unit, but the fix cost them 65 minutes in the garage. They were now effectively last, but they were not giving up. The car fixed, Brendan Hartley rejoined the battle. With just over a quarter of the race run, cracks were beginning to show in the Toyota camp.
Sebastian, we think it could be caliper, it could be on caliper. I told you! Stop the car on the side. Box this lap.
As Sebastian Buemi pitted, the brake caliper was clearly on fire. The team would have a lot of work to do if the car were to return to the track. Then, with just over 10 hours run, race leader Kamui Kobayashi's number 7 Toyota suddenly slowed.
I cannot move.
The car stopped at the side of the track and they were out. After the nightmare of 2016, the pain was raw for Toyota. Kobayashi's race finished not on the podium, but in the back of a recovery truck. However, the pain was not yet over for the Japanese team. Almost immediately, the third car made contact with the slower LMP2 machine and spun into the gravel. The surviving Toyota had a rear puncture. As Nico Lapierre desperately tried to get back, the flailing tyre was destroying the rear of the car.
You need to go below 60 kph, below 60 kph. and go to neutral. Go to neutral and first acknowledge.
The team couldn't believe it. In less than 15 minutes, they'd gone from controlling the race to being all but out. Suddenly, the number one Porsche crew had a massive lead and almost no competition. This was turning into an old-school race of attrition. The drama was not over. Inside the final 4 hours, the leading Porsche hit trouble.
Low pressure. Guys, what's happening? Engine off, engine off.
Unbelievably, the number one Porsche was out as well. All Andre Lotterer could do was pull over and abandon ship. Incredibly, this was now the race leader, the number 38 Jackie Chan DC Racing LMP2 car. The sole remaining Porsche was still running, 3 laps down after their earlier problems, but they were much faster, and the gap was closing. With just over an hour to go, Timo Bernhard finally pulled up behind the number 38 car, which bowed to the inevitable as the Porsche went by. For David Cheng and the Jackie Chan team, it had been a wonderful dream while it lasted. At Porsche, though, there was relief that they had managed to somehow turn this around. The GTE Pro class had been close all race. Johnny Adam was hustling Jordan Taylor for the lead, but the Corvette driver clung on. He overshot the chicane though, and the Aston Martin closed up once more. As they went on to start the final lap, Johnny Adam attacked yet again, this time grabbing the class lead, to the delight of Aston Martin Racing. Le Mans 2017 was won by the number 2 Porsche, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat after an incredible comeback.
Taken the checkered flag. Leader has taken the checkered flag.
When I hopped out of the car after the last stint, I really gave it everything. I knew we had a chance to not only be on the podium, but then obviously passing the sister car on track. And I did everything I could. It was one of the best stints I've driven, and I was quite emotional opening up the car. And then I really tried to not think about the chance of victory. And we know it's Le Mans, anything can happen, as we saw today. But it was an incredible moment to share that with Timo and Earl and the whole team.
The Jackie Chan DC Racing team finished an incredible 2nd overall and claimed LMP2 honours. The GTE Pro battle aimed dramatically as Aston Martin claimed the win. A superb performance saw the JMW Ferrari squad win the GTE AM class. After all the drama of Le Mans, it was time for the teams to regroup and focus on the title race as the championship headed to the Nürburgring in Germany. There was drama even before the race started. Toyota number 8 headed for the pits with a failed fuel pump. As the race got underway, there was just the pole-sitting Toyota of Kamui Kobayashi fending off a challenge from a pair of Porsches. It was a busy start in GTE Pro. Michael Christensen had a big lock-up, allowing the Aston Martin of Marco Sorensen through and into the class lead. Eventually, Toyota got the number 8 car into the race, 5 laps down and firmly on the back foot. Toyota wasn't the only team having problems early on. The AF Corsa Ferrari of Davide Rigon was soon in the garage, the team chasing an electrical issue. And there was the battle royal for the lead in GTE Pro. Fred Makovici saw a gap, forcing the Porsche ahead of the Aston Martin. Having taken over the number 2 Porsche, Brendan Hartley had reeled in leader Jose Maria Lopez. After the Porsche had been stuck behind for almost an hour and 20 minutes, he finally saw a chance, diving up the inside of the Toyota, and through he went. Advantage Porsche. In a tight GTE AM lead battle, Matteo Cairoli in the Porsche saw his chance to sneak through and grab the lead. A three-way fight had developed for second in LMP2. Matt Rao in the Alpine was attacking the Jackie Chan DC racing car of David Cheng. As they battled, Felipe Albuquerque made a very opportunistic move and sneaked by both of them to put the Rebellion car firmly ahead. Porsche was now running comfortably first and second, but traffic is a big issue around the relatively tight Nürburgring, and you must stay alert, as Nick Tandy was reminded when he brushed the 67 GT Ford, sending Harry Tincknell spinning off into the gravel. And his teammate was about to have a scare of his own. Earl Bamber forced to take to the escape road to avoid a stranded Manor LMP2 car, and that allowed Nick Tandy to sneak through into the race lead. In the closing stages, both Porsches needed a splash and dash, but Timo Bernhard went an extra lap, allowing for a shorter stop, enough to get the number 2 car back out in front. And when the Toyota that was still close behind in third also pitted, Porsche knew they'd done everything they needed to secure victory. The leader came round to the flag to make it 3 wins in 3 years for Porsche at their home track.
Not the checker flag, not the checker flag. Nice one, mate. Well done, guys. Well done.
Our teammates, I have to say, would have deserved the victory as well, as much as we did. And thank you to the whole team, and thank you to Car Crew 1. They were very quick today.
In LMP2, the 38 crew won for Jackie Chan DC Racing to extend their points lead. In GTE Pro, AF Corsa Ferrari claimed victory ahead of the Porsches. But the tables were turned in GTE AM, Dempsey Proton Porsche taking the top step after a hard-fought battle. It was time for the World Endurance Championship to stretch its legs and head to the Americas. In the altitude of Mexico City, Porsche had locked out the front row, Brendan Hartley leading the way to the first corner. Behind, the Toyotas swapped places as Sebastian Buemi swept by Mike Conway to grab third, while the LMP2 cars were busy falling over each other. As they started lap 2, Bruno Senna went for the LMP2 lead, slipstreaming by Nico Lapierre and making the pass stick. The lead battle in GTE Am was equally close. Pedro Lamy right behind Christian Ried's Porsche. He saw a gap to sneak through. The battle was so intense it almost caught out the race leaders as they tried to cut through the traffic. Right from the start, the GTE Pro leaders had been locked together. Sam Bird defending for all he was worth from Marco Sorensen's Aston Martin. The Ferrari had the speed on the straights, but the Aston was strong in the corners. Eventually, Sorensen made a move that stuck and got in front. As we'd seen at the Nürburgring, in places traffic could cause an issue, and as the Toyotas got onto the main straight, they seemed to come up against a wall of cars. Although with just over a quarter of the race gone, they were only battling each other. The Porsches had pulled away out front. As the LMP2 championship leaders pitted and Ho Pin Tung took over the car, disaster struck. It wouldn't start. Suddenly it was all going wrong and the car was rushed into the garage.
We have no clutch, guys, it's the clutch. For some reason.
The battle for third in GTE Pro got very heated. Ferrari's James Calado and Ford's Olivier Pla entered the stadium section side by side, neither willing to give up the place. After contact, both cars were damaged and dived for the pit lane. The Ferrari had a broken rear wheel. Driver James Calado was incensed. But the Ford came off worse with broken rear suspension. They were out of the race. It was door handle to door handle in GTE Am. Matteo Cairoli's Porsche just holding off Paul Dall'Anna.
Hey Suzuki, you are slow at the moment, you are slower, you got Jose just behind you. When you find the slot, just let him by.
With the Porsches now breaking away at the front, Toyota were desperately trying to close back in, hoping that Jose Maria Lopez could produce a bit more pace and help run them down. The GTE Pro lead battle had now been raging for over 4 hours. Sam Bird pitted with the Ferrari back in front, but as Davide Rigon exited the pit lane, the 95 Aston was closing in fast. Nicky Thiem had the extra momentum down the straight and dived through to put the Aston back in front. It was all busy in LMP2 as well. Ben Hanley chasing down Nico Lapierre for second place. He was determined to get by and give Manor their best result of the series so far. It was another win for Porsche.
Good job, boys. Well done.
Victory helped to extend Porsche number 2's championship lead. The LMP2 win went to the number 31 Vaillant Rebellion after a superb performance by the entire team.
I think everybody's so happy. You know, I think we just need to look forward, learn what we have learned here, and bring it forward to try and win more races. Today we got a big chunk of points from 38, so championship spot's still on.
In GTE Pro, Aston Martin secured victory after the lead Ferrari picked up a 10-second penalty in the closing stages. While in GTE Am, Dempsey Proton Porsche finally came out on top ahead of the Aston Martin. Next, the teams headed to the USA and to Austin, Texas, a city famed for its music and nightlife. The Circuit of the Americas was the venue for round 6.
It's incredible being here, seeing all the cars, and also to be here for the single-seaters and the open-wheel racing. It's great. I love this track. Facilities here are fantastic. But yeah, great to get up close to these machines.
As in Mexico, qualifying had been dominated by Porsche, but the Toyotas looked much stronger in the USA. The tight first corner proved a challenge for everyone on the first lap, the GT cars and LMP2s using all the track and a whole lot more to get through, but somehow they made it. The championship-leading Porsche was soon under pressure, Toyota's Sebastian Buemi sneaking by for second. Then Mike Conway attacked, pushing Timo Bernhardt down to 4th. Toyota's early pace seemed to have caught Porsche completely flat-footed. Toyota then opted to double stint their tyres to put themselves ahead, but on fresher rubber, the Porsches were back in the game. Andre Lotterer in the number 1 car caught Jose Maria Lopez to try and reclaim second. An epic battle ensued. Lopez wasn't just going to roll over. He attacked again, diving back up the inside to reclaim the spot. Lotterer attacked once more, pulling alongside the Toyota, but Lopez wasn't done and came back again at the Porsche. It took Andre Lotterer over 8 minutes of wheel-to-wheel racing to finally secure the spot. At the next round of stops, Porsche double-stinted their tyres, the shorter pit stops putting them back into first and second places. Now the Toyotas were on the fresher rubber and coming back into the game. Kamui Kobayashi retook second place from Earl Bamber. But as we'd already seen, getting by was one thing, staying in front another, and Bamber fought back. It had become a real battle of strategies, being fought out as much on the pit wall as on the racetrack. But eventually, Porsche slowly gained the upper hand, once more on fresher rubber, and courtesy of a little luck with a full course yellow, the Porsches worked their way forward into first and second. The battle in GTE Pro was equally intense. In the Porsche, Michael Christensen wanted second place, slicing inside to pass Sam Bird's Ferrari. Well, they do say rubbing's racing in the States. With 10 minutes to go, GTE Pro leader Alessandro Pierguidi picked up a puncture and dived for the pits. Also in the LMP2 leaders, Cinetic Alpine forced to repair a faulty rear light, but quick work by the team kept them in the lead of the class. It was going to be much closer for Ferrari. A lightning tyre change, but as Alessandro Pierguidi emerged from the pit lane, he would be just ahead of the Porsche. Nervous times for the Italian team, but they narrowly clung to their advantage. After a little bit of team strategy, Porsche ensured that the number 2 car claimed victory in Mexico.
Good job, boys. Well done, Porsche team. That's a fantastic result.
It was Porsche's 4th win in a row, but this time Toyota had really made them work for it. Despite the late scare and having to pit, Cinetic Alpine finally claimed their first win of the season. And after an equally nail-biting end to their race, Alessandro Pierguidi and James Collado claimed the honours in GTE Pro.
I tried to push hard because I knew I had the punch, but I had to take so many risks to stay in front of the Porsche because I can lose a lot with the punch. Fortunately, I lost, not a lot. It was 3 tenths was enough to stay in front of them.
GTE Am was a repeat of 2016, the 98 Aston Martin claiming victory. By round 7, there was the chance that Porsche could claim the title, so Toyota had to come out fighting. But it was the weather that was at the forefront of everyone's mind. The race got underway behind the safety car, then after 4 laps the field was released. Earl Bamber led the pack into turn 1 before they could escape the slow zone. Behind them, LMP2 pole sitter Nelson Piquet spun as he hit the throttle. Sebastian Buemi attacked for second place in the number 8 Toyota, passing Andre Lotterer. There was light contact slightly damaging the front of the Porsche. Lotterer was soon down to 4th position, but managed to regroup and fight back against Kamui Kobayashi. The weather, however, was deteriorating rapidly. Visibility was dropping fast as the clouds rolled in, Lotterer just staying in front in the gloom. Conditions had got so bad that there was no choice but to bring out the safety car. And with it came a flurry of pit stops, teams trying to use the safety car to their advantage. But conditions were only worsening. Race control decided to bring out the red flag and suspend the race until they improved. For the drivers, it was a frustrating time. All they could do was sit and wait until race control decided it was safe to race again. After just 20 minutes, they were back in action. It was clear those who hadn't stopped before the red flag, including the number 2 Porsche, were going to be in trouble.
For your info, in front of you, Porsche number 2 is currently 3 seconds a lap slower. If we can close the gap to him and overtake, will be good.
In the number 8 Toyota, Nakajima was lapping his championship rival. Suddenly, it looked as though there was an opportunity for Toyota to halt Porsche's championship charge. In GTE Pro, Andy Priaulx in the 67 Ford GT was trying to unlap himself after a stop and go, but he mistimed a move and hit Kevin Estre, knocking the GTE leader into a spin, allowing Fred Makoviecki to go by and take the lead in the other 911. Things were about to get a lot worse for Priaulx. At the end of the long, fast Fuji Straight, the Ford suddenly speared off into the barriers, sending the GTE Pro Championship leaders out of the race. James Collado pulled off a superb move to put the 51 Ferrari into the GTE Pro lead. With an hour and 40 minutes to go, the clouds again rolled down to blanket the Fuji track, forcing out the safety car. Visibility was all but non-existent. The race director had no option. Once more, racing was halted.
Red flag, gentlemen, red flag. Cars will leave the grid at 50 and go straight to Parc Fermé. The race is not being resumed. The race is not being resumed.
It may not have been how they wanted to finish the race, but full points went to Toyota, just in time to keep their championship hopes alive.
We were quite competitive from the start. The Porsche number 1 was very good, but then the race changed a little bit, and with more water it looked like we were even better. So Kazuki really deserves it. He's done a great job. He spent many hours in the car, so really happy for the entire team, everyone that are working on the car here and also on the engine not far from here, so it's an amazing result.
In LMP2, it had been another dominant performance from the number 31 Rebellion crew. In GTE Pro, the win and the Drivers' Championship lead went to the number 51 AF Corse Ferrari. While in GTE AM, the Spirit of Race Ferrari crew was on the top step for the very first time. For round 8, we headed to Shanghai in China. On the grid was a global megastar turned team owner, Jackie Chan.
They get very good result. I'm very happy. Now I'm getting more support them. No matter where they go, I try the best. I come to the set, to the location to support them.
Qualifying had been close, with almost nothing between the Toyotas and the Porsches. At the start, Toyota's Jose Maria Lopez held the lead. Nicky Team was under huge pressure at the head of GTE Pro, with the Porsche and Ford almost pushing him along from behind, but he couldn't hold off Kevin Estre, who swept by and into the lead. Then Olivier Plas saw a gap and he too attacked, getting the 66 Ford alongside, dropping the Aston Martin from first to third in just 2 corners. The battle for second was close, Nick Tandy defending hard in his Porsche, but finally Sebastian Buemi managed to unlock his defence and grab the position. Things were about to go wrong for the race leader. Lopez caught the G-Drive LMP2 car, and as he went to lap it, there was contact. The Toyota spun. All of a sudden, Nick Tandy was struggling too in the number 1 Porsche.
We're looking.
The car dropped further and further behind as Tandy tried to reset the electrical systems. At the front of GTE Pro, Kevin Estre's Porsche suddenly ground to a halt when the engine lost power. The 66 Ford swept by into the lead as Estre was forced to park up. The Ford's lead was short-lived, however. They were forced to pit when the door sprung open. That put the other Porsche of Fred Makovici in front, but Andy Priaulx desperately wanted the lead. Eventually he managed to find room to wriggle by and got the Ford through to the head of the pack. The pressure was on the number 38 Jackie Chan DC racing car to produce a home result for the Chinese team, but Ho Pin Tung was just a bit too eager, making contact with Nico Muller, putting them both into a spin. But it wasn't yet over. They soon took the LMP2 lead, but championship rivals Rebellion were now right behind. Bruno Senna made a great move around the outside to take the class lead and potentially the championship lead too. With less than 40 minutes remaining, the second place Toyota was crawling. In traffic, Jose Maria Lopez had caught the GT Pro Porsche and collided with Fred Makovici, damaging the Toyota. As the car pitted, the manufacturer's title was now destined for Porsche, as well as the driver's crown.
Toyota servers in the garage, just make sure this is clean to the end, buddy.
At the flag, Toyota would take victory. They'd won the battle here, but lost the war.
Drivers' champions 2017, team champions as well, manufacturers champions. It's been a fantastic year. Well done, boys. Well done, everyone. Whoa! Very, very good. Thanks, boys. Thanks, everybody. Whoa!
awesome feeling. It was awesome, yeah. Not the best race today, but we'll celebrate the championship. And together with Earl and Timo, I'll remember this forever.
In LMP2, it was an important win for the 31 Rebellion squad as it handed them the championship lead. It had been an epic battle in GTE Pro, victory going to the 67 Ford, but the FIA Manufacturers title was heading to Ferrari. In GTE AM, the 98 Aston Martin won again, marking Aston Martin Racing's 50th victory. The final race of 2017 would be among the hot desert sands of Bahrain. A race that always gets the attention of the wider motorsport world.
Last race for Porsche and for some of the teams here, so hopefully we see a good show. A lot of people came on the grandstand, which is nice to see as well.
The formation lap for the 6 hours of Bahrain. We have started the formation lap for the 6 hours of Bahrain.
As the lights went out for the final time of the season, Neil Jarni led the pack from pole in the final race for the 919 hybrid. Into the first corner, Timo Bernhard quickly made it a Porsche 1-2. But things were soon to go wrong for Bernhard. He ran over a corner marker that somebody else had already hit, and he was losing time.
Copy, checking. I told you before the safety car drove over the ball, so the question is it's still underneath the car.
The corner marker was jammed underneath the Porsche, affecting the handling, forcing Timo in for an early unscheduled pit stop to have it removed. GTE AM pole sitter Matthias Lauda had made a poor start in the Aston Martin and ran wide, allowing Christian Ried, his championship rival, to sneak through. But determined to maintain control of the Aston Martin team's destiny in the AM class, Lauda counter-attacked. This time he made it stick, consolidating the championship lead. After almost 35 minutes, the Toyotas were starting to pile on the pressure. Sebastian Buemi attacking Neil Jarni for the lead, diving into turn 1 to get ahead of the Porsche. In GTE Pro, Ford's Andy Prio knew that only a win could seal the title. When he saw an opportunity to take the lead, he seized it with both hands. Having started well though, the 67 Ford dropped back and the delay in the pits pretty much finished any chance of the driver's title for Andy Prio and Harry Tincknell. Meanwhile, the Porsche of Fred Makovici was on a charge and up to third, still hoping to reel in the championship-leading Ferrari, which was controlling the race at the front. In LMP2, it looked like it was all going Rebellion's way, but Bruno Senna was struggling.
I got no failure. I think the power steering failed.
So we can try your EPS reset, yellow, 4 buttons down.
Concerned faces at Rebellion, and maybe just a glimmer of hope for the crew of Mighty 38. With Senna fighting a heavy car with no power steering, the team prepared for an unscheduled driver change when they needed to refuel. At the stop though, they opted to keep Senna in, worried it would cost too much time and possibly the lead, and hoping that Senna could muscle his way through to the end despite the heavy steering. You could cut the tension with a knife. At the flag, Toyota claimed their 5th win in 2017. In LMP2, Bruno Senna clung on in a Vaillant Rebellion to claim victory in the race and the championship.
We lost power steering out of the blue, and the car is extremely heavy to drive. So we kept resetting it and seeing if it worked. And finally, for the last few laps, it did. But it was very tense. It's just amazing. No words.
The Ferraris crossed the line for a GTE Pro photo finish as Alessandro Pierguidi and James Collado claimed the driver's title.
And you are more champions, you and Ale. Good job.
The year was amazing compared to last year. I think we were the dominant force this year, considering we scored 1 point in Le Mans. So we did an amazing job.
In GTE AM, the title headed to Aston Martin with Pedro Lamy, Matthias Lauda and Paul Dalla Lana.
It's pretty incredible being around all these guys, and you look in the paddock and you see the best of the best in the world. So just to be able to hang out with some of them and keep pace is a big accomplishment, so I'm happy for that.
It was the final race for Porsche in LMP1 after winning 3 World Championships. We bid the team farewell for now. Next year in the World Endurance Championship, more cars in LMP1, closer racing in LMP2, and more manufacturers in GTE Pro, all at some of the world's greatest circuits. If you loved Season 6, you're going to adore Season 7. We'll see you there.